Welcome to another episode of Short Stories with Lola. Today's story is a heartfelt one that touches on family, love, and redemption. It's about a young woman who struggled to accept her sibling with Down syndrome and the journey that led her to realize just how much love and wisdom her sister brought into her life. It's a story of growth, faith, and the beauty of sibling bonds. This part of my life story is one I've wanted to tell for a long time, and I hope it will resonate with someone out there who might need to hear it. I grew up in a family full of love, faith, and challenges. My parents were deeply rooted in their belief in God, always praying and trusting Him, no matter what life threw at them. They leaned on their faith even more when my younger sister Abby was born with Down syndrome. For them, she was a gift, a blessing they were determined to love and care for with all their hearts. For me, though, it was a different story. Growing up, I struggled with Abby's presence in our family. I wasn't proud of it then, and I spent much of my early teenage years feeling ashamed and resentful of her. Abby required a lot of attention, doctor's visits, therapy sessions, and constant care. My parents were always patient and loving, but I couldn't help feeling like I was pushed to the side. I told myself that their love for me had somehow lessened because they were so focused on her. I acted out in ways I thought would get their attention. I became so stubborn, refused to help around the house, and even avoided Abby whenever I could. At school, I never mentioned her to my friends. The thought of explaining why she acted differently or why she sometimes came to school events made me feel embarrassed. Looking back, I realized how cruel and selfish that was. But at the time, I thought it was easier to ignore her than to confront my feelings. My parents always tried to explain. They tell me that Abby needed more care because she faced challenges that I didn't. They'd remind me that their love for me hadn't changed, and I was just as important to them as she was. But I didn't want to hear it. I was too wrapped up in my own jealousy and anger, wishing Abby had never been born. It all changed when I was 17. I'd been working on a piece of art for weeks, an abstract painting I wanted to submit to my school's art competition. Art had always been my escape, a place where I could pour out my emotions without having to talk about them. But this time, nothing was working. I'd hit a block, and the more I tried, the worse it got. One afternoon, I was sitting at the dining room table, staring at my half-finished canvas, completely defeated. Abby wandered in, as she often did. She had a way of moving through life with this unshakable cheerfulness, even when she didn't fully understand what was happening around her. She stood next to me for a while, watching me struggle. I was about to tell her to leave when she touched my arm gently. "You're doing good," she said, her voice soft and full of kindness. "Don't give up. Maybe you could try adding more blue, like the sky. It'll make it happy." I stared at her, stunned. She had seen right through me, seen my frustration and doubt, and her words were exactly what I needed to hear. I hesitated for a moment, then picked up my brush and added the blue she suggested. To my surprise, it worked. It tied the whole piece together in a way I hadn't expected. When I looked at her again, she was beaming, proud of what I'd done. In that moment, something shifted in me. I realized how wrong I'd been about Abby, about everything. She wasn't just someone who took up my parents' time and energy. She was thoughtful, loving, and full of wisdom in her own way. She saw me in a way I hadn't allowed myself to see her. That night, I prayed for the first time as a young adult. I asked God to help me be a better person, to love Abby the way she loved me. It wasn't an instant transformation, but it was a beginning. A few weeks later, I won the art competition. My parents were overjoyed, and Abby was my biggest cheerleader. She kept telling anyone who would listen. I helped her. I helped my sister. Now I'm in my late 20s, and Abby is still my best friend. We spend so much time together, watching movies, going to the park, painting together, or just sitting and talking about life. She has this incredible way of seeing beauty in the simplest things, and she's taught me more about love and kindness than I could ever have imagined. Looking back, I'm grateful for those hard years because they shaped the relationship we have now. My parents' faith and patience showed me what unconditional love looks like, and Abby taught me how to give it in return. I know there are people out there struggling with feelings they don't understand: jealousy, anger, resentment. To them, I want to say, it's never too late to let love in. Sometimes the people we think are the hardest to love are the ones who teach us how to love the most. This is Short Stories with Lola. I hope the story has reminded you of the beauty of family and the power of love, and I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed sharing it. Thank you for watching, listening, and for sharing. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And until next week, take care and keep embracing the stories that make life meaningful.